Now, regarding the render, let me stop this again. I'm going to go back to the output. Let's go have a look at the scene. We actually want to make sure that Iron Man is present to cut out the areas that might be intersecting the rays or might be in front of the rays. And for that, all you have to do is here on the forced matte, matte object is going to be exactly that. So it's an object that's going to be cutting out whatever it intersects in the 3D space. It's not going to give us, let's say we include in the forced objects, we include Iron Man. I'm going to hold Control to include Iron Man, accept pattern, and let's do a render. I'm going to, whenever you want to get rid of the region, just hold Shift and click outside, and that's going to get rid of the region. So right now we have this. Iron Man actually has a material on it with some reflection. That's why you can see some blue here. If we go to the alpha channel, and you can just expand this little tab here, if we go to the alpha channel, so now we have the alpha channel for the Thunder and Iron Man, but we don't really want that. We just want the Thunder, and we want Iron Man to actually cut out everything that's intersecting or that's in front of. So instead of adding Iron Man here, we're going to be adding Iron Man on the forced matte. So if I go here, Iron Man, accept pattern, you'll see now it's different. And if we go to the, so we're looking at the alpha channel, Iron Man is no longer there, but he will be cutting out whatever he's intersecting or in front of. Okay. Now, regarding the rendering of the main rays, we're all set. We're going to be separating the render of the main rays from the secondary rays. So, but we can actually just copy this out. I'm also going to establish, before I do that, I'm going to establish here on the images, the output. I'm going to set the output to be render. I'm going to say this is going to be test 01, or yeah, let's call it test 01. It's just, we're just going to be rendering frame 10 so that we can test the composition and all that stuff, make sure everything is working well together. And once everything is done, you can render the whole animation to another folder. So this is going to be called shot 01 raise main dot this. This just means it's going to add the number of the frame. Okay, if you click on this, if you middle mouse button here, it's going to show you the final result of that expression, and this is going to be the name of the file. Okay. So now that I have this, we have this all set, we can kind of Alt, click and drag to just create a copy, and I'll call this raise sec. These will be the secondary rays. Let's make sure we take care of all the same issues that we had on the main ones. So I'm going to go to object, and here on the secondary ones, let me hide these. So these are all the secondary ones. So I'm going to go over these and just make sure that I have normals here. And make sure I have color here on the main component. And for the other one, I'm actually going to just copy what we have here. The set color from curve view, Control C. The system is always the same. Okay, and this is all we need. I'm actually going to try to copy this, make things faster. Control C. Go to this one, Control V. Add normals. And finally here, Control V. And finally, we should also kind of make the naming of the outputs uniform. So what I'll do is make sure that the null for all these three is kind of similar. Out ray sec ground arm 4, and here out ray sec from secondary, and here the same thing. Okay, so now that that's settled, we can go to the output again. And the only difference between this mantra and this mantra is going to be the objects. Of course, the output picture as well. So let's say instead of main raise sec. And here on the objects, instead of using these, we're going to force the render of these three. Set pattern. I also didn't apply the material we just created. Let's just make sure that here on the render, we select the Thunder material, and we should have everything we need. Now going to the output sec. Here on the render tab, remember we need to switch to the raise sec prop. Okay, the mantra operator that we actually want to render from. I'm gonna disable this, render. Okay, and these are the secondary rays. Stop. Finally, these seem kind of thick, but that's something that we can adjust after. But for now, notice that even though these aren't displayed, they are still being rendered because we're forcing them to be rendered. Go here, and on the set width, I'm gonna reduce this a bit. 0.8 here as well. These are some pretty normal adjustments to make whenever you start rendering. You might notice that, oh, they seem a bit too thick, so just go inside and make the adjustment. Okay, so once that's done, everything is taken care of regarding the render of the Thunderbolts. Okay, as you can see, if you look at the alpha, there's no Iron Man there, but he is cutting out the rays. Okay, so looking at this, I feel we have too much noise and too many rays here. So I'm just going to go over to, starting with this one, I'm going to dive inside. And I'm going to reduce the number of rays we have here. So here on the scatter, we're scattering between these, so 2 and 4. So I'll say between 1 and 2, maybe. Remember, we also need to adjust that here. Okay, so we have less. And the other thing is the amount of noise. So here on the sort line, this is where we're applying all that noise. And I think it's just too much. So I'm going to try and reduce the frequency of the noise. Okay, so after taking a few moments to fine tune the parameters that we had available for the secondary rays, this is what I have. So finally, all we need to do is go to our out context and hit the render to disk buttons in order to save this out. The resolution of our renders is going to be something that we set up on the cameras themselves. So let's go to our object and make sure that we're rendering this at full HD. On our camera, we just keep diving inside until you find the parameter that we're looking for. So here on the camera, we have the view, and the view we have here the resolution, and you have a bunch of presets here. Let's switch to HDTV 1080, and that's done. Now we go to our out context, and we can just hit the render to disk. Since we have multiple mantra rays that we want to render out, you can actually connect them this way, and they will be rendered out in sequence. So when you hit render to disk on the last one, it's going to first go to everything that's connected before, and then finally rendering out this one. So just press render to disk, and after a few moments, you'll see that you'll have on your destination folder, you will have the, both images. Here they are, both renders. Let me just double click, and you'll see we have the renders, the render of the main rays, and we have the render of the secondary rays.